Welcome to Stranger Connections, where I celebrate wonderfully weird people and quirky stories. I'm your curious beast and host, Lisa David Olson, the practically world famous business humorist and interactive speaker. So bring me to your group. Let's have some fun, darn it. Today, speaking of fun, you've heard of all the bad things in the world, right? All the bad and the news headlines, and we don't need it. What we want to hear is the good things from none other than the host of the podcast called The Good Humans. Is that how you say it? Or is it just,
Hello, good humans.
oh, hello, good humans? And that lovely voice is Zoe de Boer. And thank you for being on Stranger Connections. I'm really glad you're here.
I'm glad that I'm here too.
It's hello, good humans. I love it.
Mm.
And your shirts are so cute. She's got merch, y'all.
I do have merch.
Well, when on Stranger Connections, the main thing I do is talk to people I don't know. But I've already had a stranger connection with you. And this
hmm
was years ago. Had to be like 2016, 20. I'm bad with that. I don't
I
know.
believe it was the summer of 17
That
because
makes sense.
I graduated in May and then I moved to the Twin Cities because I was a little brat that was upset about the fact that I was going to college in my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were like, go live with your aunt and uncle for a summer, get that out of your system, then you can come back and go to college.
And it worked?
I mean, yeah, I graduated, so and I still
What?
live here.
That's fantastic. A
hmm
plus for your parents.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. So yeah, why don't you tell us about your show? What makes someone a good human? How do you decide who to
Hmm.
have on Hello Good Humans?
That's a good question. The idea for the show started kind of during the panorama because I was talking to my grandparents on the phone all the time, and I started hearing stories upon stories upon stories of their childhoods, and I really wanted a way to preserve them. Um, And then I just kind of started thinking about what that would look like with all sorts of good humans, just preserving pieces of the work that they're doing within their own communities. And especially in a world that glamorizes celebrities and the not so great work that they're doing or the good work that they're doing because they have millions of followers and millions of dollars. I really
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to highlight people that are doing good everyday human work. And something that's really important to me is I have really strong political views, and people that know me personally know that. And I've gotten myself into situations where I have to say to myself, is this person's story something that I want on my podcast? But then I have to also say, it's not Hello Good Humans that have the exact same views as me. It's Hello Good Humans no matter where we are in life. And there's a difference between promoting something or just like sharing someone else's lived experience.
Nice. And how long has this been going on?
It just hit a year.
Wow, happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yes. I have been journaling slash manifesting it since probably 2021, kind of having some imposter syndrome of no one's gonna listen to me or, people people aren't going to think it's cool. But after last summer, I competed for Miss Wisconsin, and that week was such a fever dream and such an emotional up and down that at the end of the week, I just said, if I just did that, I can do anything. So I literally came home and started the podcast the next week.
Wow. So it was it the self-talk was getting in the way, the overthinking. What would you say to
I
somebody
think
else that says, "Why
so.
would I do a podcast? I'm nobody."
I think it was comparison. I was comparing myself to podcasters that I love who have millions of streamers. And obviously, I'm not going to have millions of streamers the first week or year or maybe ever, and that's fine. And after I spent an entire week with 20 something girls, where the whole idea of the week is to basically be pitted against each other. But for me, I went into the week celebrating each and every one of them and not really caring about my own success.
Oh, wow.
That totally transformed my view of how I was going to be doing things from there on out.
I love that. And I hear so much good feedback. I think are you mostly recording with people in the area of La Crosse, Wisconsin?
It's probably 2/3 local, 1/3 farther away. I have a lot of people in my life who I met here, but have now moved. And so the lacrosse ties us together, but maybe they're living somewhere else now.
Yeah, and I think that's good. That makes it a niche for you. I think,
Mhm.
we can't be everything to everyone. We have to find our audience. And if you end up shifting at some point, that's another thing people go through is the shift of a podcast. They're like, well, now I'm kind of feeling like I want to do more style and personality style. And do it.
Yeah.
There's no rules.
There's definitely things I like talking about more than others. I love when my guests have a mental health related story or a body image related story or a faith related story. But I interviewed a college athlete and I know nothing about sports. But she had the most amazing mental health story that she was able to tie into her athletic journey. And so it's also opened my eyes up to different people's lifestyles.
And as a
Yeah.
good host, you're learning and listening. And I mean, I know you're a great host because I was just on your show. And so, and you got to tune in to my episode. I was on Zoe's show, Hello, Good Humans. So we're going to release around the same time. So check them both out to hear each side
Mhm.
because we have two versions of the same story, although they're very
Mhm.
similar. So I'll let you tell the story of
Of
how
how
we
we met?
first met as strangers.
Okay, so like I said, it was summer after I graduated from my senior year of high school. I was back in La Crosse and I was hanging out with my best friend Brittany, maid of honor in my upcoming wedding. One of my favorite sorry, can you still hear me?
Mhm.
I have a student with Down syndrome who calls me about 25 times an hour. So I'll put my phone back on mute. But if she calls again, hello. So I was back in La Crosse hanging out with Brittany. We went to the Pearl, and as all good 17, 18-year-olds do, we were taking photos to put on Instagram.
Pearl is
And
ice cream store, just to
oh
interject for
yes,
those,
yes,
because this show is quite around the world, just so you know.
yes.
Definitely.
Oh, yours is international.
Yeah.
So yes, we were getting ice cream at arguably the best homemade ice cream parlor
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Um, and the way that I remember it is maybe we saw you and your husband and we said, "Hey, can you come take a photo of us?" And I think you were taking the photos of us and your husband was like work it ladies,
He
like,
was.
telling us how to
Yes.
pose, which was
He
hysterical.
said, "Look in the distance and pout." You're
Yes,
right. He was
exactly.
directing it. I forgot that part. Dang, that's
So
good.
then you two went off to dinner, and then about 1 second later, you came running back and you said, "Girls, can I get a selfie with you?" And right as you were putting your phone up to take the selfie, you said, "Okay, it has to be a serious selfie." And so the 3 of us kind of pouted
Uh,
into the into the phone. As you can see here, there is us, circa 2017.
yes.
And
Oh my gosh, it's the
And then
best.
you went to dinner and we said, "Who was that crazy lady that needed to take a selfie with us?" I'm joking.
Totally forgot the part about Todd taking it. Yes, that's right. You're right.
But then, like we talked about on my episode, this started a whole kind of social experiment for you that then was published in your book and was posted on a TED Talk, and my face is now published literature.
Yes, you are the face of international fame. And
Mhm.
when the book came out, I included a lot of serious selfies with strangers. And then your mama, her friend, saw the book and said, "Hey, I think Zoe's in my friend's book," or whatever, however that went. And then we all got together. There was like 8 of us, and we had a coffee date. And then we went to a hangout. It was a used clothing store, which was so fun. We were thrifting and skirts and pants and trying on things and singing ABBA
Mhm.
songs. And the worker's like, "Are you guys in a musical?" And we're like, "Well, yeah."
Like, it was
So
kind of,
fun.
like, good manifesting for me because one of my greatest joys of my life has been being in Mamma Mia, and
Mm,
we were singing Dancing Queen that day, and then
yes.
probably about a year later, I started rehearsals for Mamma Mia, which was amazing.
Oh, that did it. Wow.
Mhm.
All of that because you and Brittany had ice cream.
Yeah.
So the whole moral of all of this is always say yes to ice cream and always say yes to a picture with a stranger because you
Yes,
could end up in a musical and a book and
and
in a
on a
dress
podcast.
and a podcast.
Mhm.
Now you had a journey which was really thrilling for everybody in this local area of La Crosse, Wisconsin. You became Miss Lacrosse, which is directly tied into the ginormous Oktoberfest celebration, which is the reason we all live here is just to have Oktoberfest. Pretzels for everyone. And you did you go in thinking you were going to win? What was that like?
No, actually, I think the prank that I was gonna talk about was that the prank was me running for a pageant. Um,
Oh, well then we'll come back to that. I
no,
can't wait.
I have another story for
That
that.
happens a lot. Okay. So then we'll talk
But
about yeah, when you went in.
it I have a very distinct memory of going to the Miss Onalaska pageant as a high schooler and watching everything go down and thinking to myself, I really wanna do this, but I wanna do it my way, and it was just little things that I thought were funny about the pageantry of it all, and I just said, "If I did this, I'd wanna do it more authentically me." Um, and then I had a pretty severe ongoing struggle with body dysmorphia, and I got to a pretty low place where I didn't think that I would ever be worthy, quote unquote, worthy enough to run for a pageant. And something about summer of 2022, I just said, you know what? If I don't run right now, I'm never going to do it. And I had no idea. People always ask me, did you know you were going to win? No. Do I I had no idea. I'd never done a pageant before. I really knew nothing about that world except what I had seen at a pageant, 5, 6 years earlier. Um, but it truly changed my life, for lack of a less cliche term.
What did you in when you saw it when you were younger and you looked, what are the things you looked at and said, "Oof, no, I think I would do this." Do you clearly remember something that you know is an example?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a lot of the superficial pieces, like girls had very clearly fake tans and they had a lot of makeup on and they had dresses that were very clearly hundreds of dollars. And one of the things that I did throughout my year that I actually got criticized for was that most of my wardrobe was secondhand. And I was open about that. I would say in my social media posts or in my appearances, I got this dress for 99 cents at the Goodwill bins. And I still look awesome. And there were people that told me, quote unquote, being thrifty is not a valued attribute of Miss Lacrosse. And I said, well, you're not going to get rid of that part of me. So just little things like that.
It's not a little thing. That is highly rude that you need to go out and buy a $800 dress that you can't wear again because it's so obviously it was that dress.
Well, right.
I don't know
Mhm.
how like the judges on Idol look at what they wear. And I'm like,
Uh,
do they really just wear that dress one time and that's that? I don't understand that, how that
Probably.
works. What you
Probably.
could do with that money.
Uh-huh, and there's crazy things, like, if you go to Goodwill here in Onalaska or La Crosse after prom season, there are hundreds of prom dresses there. Why would I not take advantage of that as somebody who's going to wear it on stage for a 90-second vocal piece or a 10-minute interview? And so, it wasn't that I didn't take the pieces seriously because I obviously wanted to do a good job, but I wasn't going to buy into the superficial parts of the pageant world.
And it seems like you could have still been thrifty, and if that person had their way, you just would not have shared that. And that
Yeah,
is
that's
bad
true.
because that is not you.
That's
And what you're
true.
doing is telling people you don't need the fake tan. You don't need to open a new credit card and pay that off for 27 years.
Mhm,
And I'm sure that that's something that has affected other people. I'm sure you got feedback on that.
mhm, and I will say, for all of its ups and downs, the Miss America organization is a scholarship program, and because of what I won and different other awards that I was awarded, I was able to pay for the second half of my master's degree with money that I won through the organization. And so
Oh, wow.
I'm very, very thankful for that part of it. And I'm glad that I didn't have to use that money to pay off the dresses that I wore.
Right
Mhm.
there. In your face person who said that.
In your face.
In your face. And your
Yeah.
platform, you talk openly about body image and healing from body dysmorphia. So
Mhm.
what was that your platform that you were speaking on when you would have a chance to talk to groups?
Yep, part of my way that I wanted to do things differently too is I am not a size 2 human being, and when I was pretty ill, and I've spoken about that, suffering from anorexia and bulimia and just a lot of mental illness was going on at the time, and I really just wanted to show people, whether it was friends or people that follow me on social media, that you are worthy of this title or worthy of the awards that you're receiving and the scholarship money that you're winning, no matter what dress size you are. And I was able to bring that message to lots of groups of people up to nursing home age folks all the way down to Daisy Scouts. And it was very, very well received.
And it's just so you. It's just it wasn't preachy, it was just shared like, "Well, this is where I'm at. This is me. So if you wanna like me, let's hang out. But if you wanna just be stupid, don't hang
Uh,
out." No, but you're not you're unapologetically you, and I think that's the attraction, and that's how you won. And were you singing in the pageant as well? I know you have a rock band with a hot dude.
my dad.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
Lisa. I'm
He's
not
not
gonna
bad,
agree
but
with that, but, a cool dude. We'll say a cool dude.
so cool. Coolest dad
Um,
on the block. So were you
yes,
s did you sing for your talent?
I did sing, and I will say a little humble brag for myself, I did win talent at Miss Wisconsin, which
Nice.
was, that was the I don't know what the right word is, the affirmation that I needed, or I didn't care about winning Miss Wisconsin, I didn't but that was like, "Okay, I'm getting recognized for this thing that I am so passionate about and have spent so many years of my life working on." That was an incredible moment.
And what song did you win with?
It's called All That Matters from the musical Finding Neverland. Um,
Oh.
I am in a rock band. Well, it's more of a pop band really, but music theater is my first love, so it was fun to get to do that again.
And was that with live accompaniment, or did they have recording?
It had to be a it had to be a pre-recorded track.
Got it. All those
Mm.
details. So many details. You
Yeah,
have to worry
it's
about
all
all that.
about putting everybody on the same plane, so
True.
which is good, which is good.
In a way, yes. So how do you compare Miss Lacrosse to Miss Wisconsin?
You mean the actual competition?
Mhm.
It was crazy. The Miss Wisconsin week was hold some of my favorite memories ever. You are literally under lock and key with uh your 20 something girls. I forget how many we had. I'm just gonna go with 25. Um, 25 girls in a hotel. Think of it as like Bachelor Nation where you're completely off the grid. You stay in a house, they bus you to where you have to go. We had our phones, but we were highly encouraged not to use them. Um, it was
Yeah,
crazy.
how'd that work?
You
Ah,
know,
come on.
it was actually good. We took lots of pictures, obviously, but,
Yeah,
like, it was good to stay off of social media because people just psych themselves out.
right.
Um, but I mean, super good, just very, very intense. I met this group of girls, we call ourselves the Beep Boop Queens, um, and that's just because we're all, like, a little bit quirky, we're all a little bit, like, we're not so intense, so we just said, "We're just beep booping around all week. We're just having fun. We're just beep booping." Um, I met them, and they have been some of the greatest people in my life, and if I had not run for Miss Lacrosse, I would have never met them, and fun fact, this past week was Miss Wisconsin a year
Oh.
later, and my friends and I that I met last year went to go watch, and they threw me a surprise engagement weekend, which was just
Oh.
or not engagement, bachelorette, sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
bachelorette weekend, just incredible humans.
Oh, so sweet.
It was.
You did not see that coming.
Not at all.
Oh, that's so cool.
Mhm.
Wow. I am just so happy for you and Ben. That is exciting.
Yeah.
Where can people see the band and tell me the name and how we can find you?
Oh, yes, the band is called Gertrude and Company. Gertrude is my embarrassing nickname that my father has called me since I was little, and I don't know why, it just happened. Um, on Instagram, we're at gertrude.co.lax, and on Facebook, it's just Gertrude and Co. Um, honestly, I don't know gigs off the top of my head, but they're all posted
Yeah, we'll
there,
find it there.
and
Yes.
it's really fun getting to play music with my dad. We have this, like, family telepathy thing where we can just communicate with each other mid-song,
Right.
and it's magical.
Not everybody could be in a band with their family member, much less their parent. I think that is fantastic. And I've gotten to hear a little bit of you guys, but I definitely have to find you and watch a whole set. That's great. I did see the pictures. For some reason, you guys were trading a witch hat and different things were happening.
We
But
do have a bit of a prop thing going on. Like, my dad just started collecting hats, and we wear them, and it's just part of the bit.
yep. Yeah, Todd and I DJ'd for 100 years, and we were of the first people way back when it was Music in Motion years and years ago, and we would whip out props and change clothes and the whole thing. Not surprising we ended up doing shows, but it's fun. That's fun. So sometimes you have to bring a hat like the chicken with the legs hanging down and surprise your dad. So when he turns around, there you are in something different. That could be fun.
Yes,
Throw him off.
I agree.
Oh, this has been really fun. The podcast is Hello, Good Humans. I feel like any minute we'll be introducing a book from you or something else coming out of that master's that you just obtained. And
Yeah.
congratulations on your successes. This is a great year. So
Yes, it's
do tell me before I let you slip out the back door, could you share a dare or a prank story or one of those legendary tales we tell when the family's together? Give me some juicy stories.
so I don't know which category this falls under, but growing up, I lived 4 houses away from the infamous Brittany Barker from the Serious Selfie photo.
Oh, okay.
4
Yes.
houses around the corner, and I'll just say her house was a little bit more lax with the rules, and my house was a little bit more strict with the rules, and so there was always a lot of lying from my end, to my parents about where I was, but the
Hmm.
excuse was always that I was at Brittany Parker's house. And one summer after we got our licenses, things were particularly bad. Um, and I guess, like, this isn't really a prank, but we just always lied to my dad about where we were, and he would text us and say, "Is Zoe," or he'd text Brittany, "Is Zoe at your house?" She'd say, "Yes," even if we were, like, halfway to La Crosse at this point, and he'd say, "Okay, I'm on my way over to check," and it's,
Oh,
like, a 2-minute walk, not maybe not even, like, 1 minute, 30-second walk, and we would drive back from wherever we were at the speed of light, and there was one time when we parked, like, turned the headlights off, parked down the street, came to a screeching stop. We sprinted back to Brittany's house, and when my dad knocked on the door, we're like, "Yeah, no, we've been here the whole time." And
we
it
were
it
just working out. We're out of breath from jogging in the
and
basement.
the prank is that we were never at Brittany's house, but we always somehow made it appear that we were. And I'm so confused as to why my parents, like, they clearly cared because my dad would put in the effort to come check, but
Yes,
every time I said, "Can I go to Brittany's house?" They, "Sure."
sure. We'll randomly check on you. And do you think your dad knew you were having some shenanigans and just wanted to see how fast you can get your buns back to Brittany's?
Absolutely. I think the best part is that I was just looking through my phone screenshots, and I found a screenshot that Brittany had sent me in 2020. So at this point, it was COVID, so I had moved back home, but I was 22. So I should not have to tell my parents where I am, or at least that is how I felt at the time. And my dad texted Brittany and said one night, I don't know where I was, but he texted her and he said, "Is Zoe at your house? I thought we were past these days, but I guess not." And she said, "Yes." And then he goes, "Well, we just found out that she's not. So
Oh,
thanks."
that's so bad. He's like,
Where
because
was I?
probably in your room at his place, so he's just messing with Brittany.
But you know what? She will always have my back.
Always, always yes. My yes girl. Oh my gosh, this has been so fun. I am so, so honored to have had you on Stranger Connections, Zoe de Boer. And remember that we can only be strangers once, twice, three, or four times. And I invite you to stay weird.
No problem.
Thank you.
You.